Hey, good morning, everybody. It is Thursday. It is May 8th. It's springtime. I think it's sunny out there with some overcast clouds. And this is the Victoria Real Estate Show. We've got Jen Lowe, mortgage
Good
broker
morning.
extraordinaire. Good morning. Jane, again, we do not have with us. She is still part of this show, folks. She's going to be back, but we may actually pre-record a show next week and have her on if we can. So,
That'd be awesome.
yeah. What are we doing today, Jen? Do you remember?
Yes, we're looking at the monthly stats. See
Yay!
if they match with what the activity we've got going. We both have going on as we're talking earlier. We're both busy.
Yeah, it's funny because I was saying I've been talking to some colleagues who are saying they're experiencing a slow market, and other colleagues are experiencing a busy market. I just reached out to our sign company that we have install signs for us, and we've had we've had 3 properties go unconditional recently, so I was able to send them 3 messages of, can you please remove these signs for these various properties? And they got back and said, oh, that's great. We are low on signs. We really need some signs right now. So they're obviously getting the signs out there. Signs going out is not the same as signs being taken away, though. I mean, there's a lot of inventory going up with price reductions still and so forth. We'll get into that, though. Yeah. Okay. So yes, this Victoria Real Estate Show, we do this every Thursday, and Jen, and I, and special guests will be chatting about what's going on. Today, we're going to get a mortgage update from Jen, just generally what's going on, what she's been experiencing. We'll get into the stats. Keep it relatively short today. And when I say relatively short, because I can never seem to do that, we'll try to keep it within 20 minutes or so, maybe half an hour. So Jen, what can you tell us about what's going on in the mortgage world?
Nothing too exciting this past week. Not really any interest rate fluctuations, which is kind of nice. Hoping that interest rates do start coming down, as that's what's expected. But so far, right now they basically remain the same as they have previous week. Just to share a couple other stories, been some interesting stories of inexperience in the branch world, where I've had to jump in and reach out to my connections to get things sorted out for clients. So definitely
In the bank branches.
in the bank. Yeah.
Okay. And so inexperience has caused delays. Is it costing people money? I maybe you can't go into details.
Yeah,
but
it starts into costing people money. Like the 2 issues I had this past week is the pre-authorized debit form that's filled out for wherever their mortgage payment is going to be drawn from. That's forgotten to be done at the branch level, and then there's NSF fees, and even after multiple follow-ups by the client, then the client loops me in, and I reach out to the branch manager, and we get it sorted out within 10 minutes, thank goodness. But it shouldn't get to that, and there just is a lot of inexperience at the branch level we're noticing.
Okay, so when we mere mortals call into one of these phone lines for the branch or whatever, and we want to escalate, we end up in some sort of weird loop where we can't really talk to anybody, trying to find a human to begin with, and then trying to find somebody who is able to, you're like the escalation button. You actually can get in there and get it done.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's it.
So that's really, really important, because something like an NSF fee, and you go into that circular conversation of, no, you guys never actually signed me up for this. And they're like, well, but you didn't pay your mortgage. Yeah,
Right.
but I've been trying to, but you guys didn't let me. But you
Yeah.
didn't, so you pay us money. But no,
Right.
wait a sec.
Yeah, time
Let's
out.
get Jen involved.
Wait a minute. Yeah, that's not exactly how it happened.
Yeah,
And I reach out to the branch manager. And it was wonderful. It's a relief for me when I reach out to the branch manager and his response is, "I'm on it. This will be sorted out ASAP." And then I
And
get an
this,
email from the client saying, "Thank you so much. I wish I looped you in earlier."
right.
It's
Good for you.
it is a
Yeah.
wonderful thing, but it's frustrating for all those involved. And I do my very best to try and make the mortgage process as stress-free as possible.
Hmm.
And it's always a stressful time for a lot of people, right? They're moving or they're dealing with a large sum of money and people get stressed about that. So I do my
Yeah.
best to remove that stress.
We don't ever want our clients to be stressed, but if it wasn't for stress, we probably wouldn't have jobs,
True.
right? So, we need to be able to jump in and help solve those things when those stressors come up or recognize them or get them out of the way. But, um, I try to hold some appreciation for that because it would also make our jobs pretty boring. But we want to be able to, hopefully our clients don't see all of the possible stresses that could have happened because we're sitting there, taking the brunt.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's and this is definitely off topic for sure, but I always say having your mortgage broker, your realtor, and your lawyer all working together makes
Yeah.
a huge difference because I do my best to, if there's something that's not quite, the funding department for the bank hasn't received funds or like just different things that happen behind the scenes.
Right.
Um, it's amazing what can happen. So
Yeah, no, we're
it's
all part of your team, right? And
yeah,
so when it's interconnected and we're all looped in together, then we can actually coordinate and work well together to help solve things. If we're not looped in together, then we're working alone on each individually working on alone to solve your problem.
yeah.
So I've actually had clients, you wouldn't have the same experience. Maybe, no, I don't think you would. I've had clients who, for whatever reason, decide to work with a different agent for buying versus selling. And so you end up with two different agents, and we still can coordinate and make things work. But, there's a lot more, it's a lot harder to maybe the context of how everything fits together isn't just as smooth.
Mhm,
Certainly, when I'm
mhm,
working with people who are selling and then maybe buying up island or in a different province, being able to coordinate with that other agent and again, um, coordinate dates for closings. And if there's an amendment to something, being able to just discuss that, make sure everybody else is amending or updating what they need to update for their files. Really, really helpful. So it's good to have
mhm.
part a good solid team for sure.
Yes,
All right.
communication is key.
It's major, it's everything.
Yeah.
So let's talk about stats. So first we're going to just talk about the last week and what's going on recently, and then we're going to talk about the month of April. Here we are, May 9th, May 8th. We're going to talk about what happened in the month of April overall. Just catch up on that as well. So in the last week, we had 905 properties get listed versus 749 the week before. So definitely some increase in listings. Number of properties pending, though, a little less, very close, but a little less. 346 properties went pending versus 353 the week before. An increase in price decreases. So can you say it that way? There was an increase in price decreases, 422 price decreases versus 333 the week before. And also an increase in expired listings at 202 versus 188. So certainly seeing, increase in inventory, slight decrease, I mean, nominal in properties going
Mhm.
pending. The price increases does indicate that people are, um,
Or price
needing
decreases.
to sharpen their price decreases or people are needing to sharpen their pencils. With more listings on market, it's not surprising there's more price decreases in terms of numbers. In terms of percent, maybe this follows the same pattern. That's just something to point out there. So month to date, And this is updated every Monday. Again, today is Thursday. So as of Monday, which would have been the would have been the 5th, we had 89 net unconditional sales, and we had 235 new listings on market, and we had a total active listing inventory of 3,428. Compare that to the year before. The full month of May reached 763 unconditional sales, 1,757 new listings, and total active listings of 3,338. So we're above last year's active listings. It's a little early to say how, whether we're on target for, more or less than last year in those other factors. So there you go. In terms of list to sell ratio, though, we're down. So more listings, less sales. Down week over week, 38.23%. Sorry, month over month, 38.23% this month versus 47.13 last month. Yeah, so I guess I'll be doing a lot of talking here, Jen, but please do jump in if there's anything you see here. And what we're looking at here is the ratio of, we're looking at the new listings and the pendings. So I can't, listings to sales, that is. So there's two lines, there's two sets to this chart. There's a line chart, which is the sales, and there's the bar chart, which is the properties that have been listed. And if you look for April, that is a pretty high bar. It's going up pretty high there. The last time it was up that high was actually a year ago, May 2024 and April 2024. The year before that, we didn't reach those kind of heights. What we're seeing here is just a lot of inventory coming on market. And then the sales are a little less than last year, if you look at this chart, and they're starting to sort of taper off. So you can see generally that we get a rise up in the spring and then maybe a slow fall into the summer. Yeah, by all accounts, we're probably going to stay these sales numbers, stick around this line, maybe go up a little bit next month, but not much. Anything you're seeing there, Jen, you want to comment on?
I think definitely some pent up demand, or in the sense, or pent up desire to sell, but people holding out, listing their properties, waiting for spring. With interest rates the way they've been throughout last year, I think that's why there's more listings coming on this spring too.
Right. Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Sales to active listing ratio. What we tend to say is if we're above 20%, there's upward pressure on prices, and below 14%, there's a downward pressure on prices. We are up above 20%. So historically, the 14 to 20% range is considered a balanced market. And according to this chart and according to the words below, it would indicate that we are in a seller's market. But I don't really see that the case, and I haven't seen that the case for a while. I think the board probably needs to update these numbers below, because my feeling is that we are actually more in, we're on the buyer's market side of a balanced market. I would not say that we are on. I would say between 20%, below 20%, you start getting into a buyer's market. And I think so. I don't know. I just think this chart, these numbers, this is wrong. And you can see here we've been for when you get down below 20%, you start to get into a buyer's market. But we haven't been in a seller's market for a while. We were in a seller's market, and you can see it when we go back into the past here in May of 2023. But right now we're more balanced.
I have heard of some properties that have gone into multiple offers recently, though. But just it seems to be in certain desirable areas and homes that are priced right.
If you're priced right and you have a desirable home, there's always a chance of multiple offers, regardless of the market. Good homes are going to gather that lightning rod attention of buyer attention. There's properties that just stand out as a shining example of what somebody wants. It just hits the mark. I've had almost multiple offers on one recent listing. We ended up with multiple offers on another, but both offers were under asking price. So multiple offers don't always mean also that you're getting, above your asking price. It means that there's multiple people interested in having a conversation with you about the value of your home, and then you choose which of those offers you're going to work with, if any. But when we look at this chart, it's been pretty actually steady and even for the last year. It was a little higher last year than it is now, and it's month over month we've been in a couple of slight downtrends, but I don't see this dipping below 20%. I think we're still going to stay above that 20% line. I don't think we're really dipping down into any kind of there's not blood in the water for sure. We're not looking at a big decrease in pricing or demand. There's still a lot of demand out there, even though the buyers are aware of price. So aware of price that even if they're making offers and competing against others, they're putting forward what they feel the property is worth, even if it's under asking price, as I gave in that example.
It was such a funny time, actually. I remember back in April, May 2023, that was a crazy, unexpected market, and how quickly it dropped down. Yeah. Interesting.
So it's interesting to see. And we've been kind of just it's not boring, it's not ho-hum, but it's been kind of going along business as usual for quite some time now, with nothing really that exciting. But it doesn't mean that we're not just going about doing business. We're not doing chaotic business. So
yeah.
This is one of those charts that is, again, if you're listening to the show at home, there's a complicated chart in front of us. And what I'm going to do is just read out the benchmark pricing from April of 2025 for some various types of property homes and different areas of those homes could be lying within. So for Greater Victoria single family homes, the benchmark price currently is $1,188,200. That's sort of the Greater Victoria area on the average of that benchmark price. In the core itself, it's a little higher. It's $1,344,800. So when we talk about the average or the benchmark price in different areas, it does bounce around a bit. In the West Shore, it's going to be less. Your money is going to go further. $1,064,100. The West Shore is Langford, Colwood, Metchosin, the Highlands, but mainly Langford, Colwood, even View Royal, we would call the West Shore. The Peninsula, so going up Central Saanich, North Saanich, Sydney, Brentwood Bay, $1,253,500. So you can see different areas, you're going to have different values. The West Shore is still a really great value for anyone looking to not be too far from the core and still have good selection of even newer homes. Now, when we're talking...
this is all good news too, in the sense of getting an insured mortgage now that price point has gone up, increased from 1 million to 1.5 million. So you don't have to have a 20% down. Now that, it used to be if your house price was above $1 million, you had to have a minimum 20% down, whereas now it's up to 1.5. I'm not explaining that very well, but
yeah, no, you're right. That change wouldn't have affected certain communities where the average price is generally under $1 million. But here in Victoria, where we popped above $1 million and quite consistently for the last couple of years, last few years have been above $1 million for our benchmark pricing. It's meant that the average person who's trying to save up a down payment is going to have a much harder time buying in Victoria because they need 20% down. With the recent change in rules, as Jen alluded to, we don't need that anymore. It's under 1.5 million now. So you can actually buy a home in Victoria without having to have that 20% down savings. So talk to Jen about that. But it's, I mean, good news, bad news. If you're buying, the bad news is, you're paying over $1 million for anything in Victoria for a single family home. But the good news is you can actually get financing for it.
Yes, there we go.
Yeah. So if you're buying in Greater Victoria and you're looking for a condo, the benchmark price is $565,600. If you're looking in the core, it's $566,100. So not a big difference, actually. Your money does go a little further in the West Shore at $531,200. And you're actually paying a bit of a premium to be on the peninsula. Partly, I think, because there's a bit of a slightly different mix of condos on the peninsula. And we're also seeing some newer construction out there. So I don't know, $632,200 on the peninsula if you're looking for a condo, and that's the benchmark pricing. Townhouses, that good sort of middle ground between an apartment condo or a single family home. Greater Victoria, $790,600. In the core, you're definitely paying more, $853,700. In the West Shore, $702,500. Your money goes much further in the West Shore for townhouses. And on the peninsula, you're pretty much close to on par with the core, $846,300. So I'm gonna get my glasses out here. If we were to actually compare the value of these homes in terms of that we just talked about from last year to this year, single family homes are up 3.5% on benchmark pricing. In sort of the whole area, they're up I can't even read this. Sorry, guys. Nope, I can't make this larger.
3.3% in the core.
3.3% in the core, 4.9% in the West Shore. So the West Shore has seen the highest appreciation in values year over year. The Peninsula, 3.7, Gulf Islands, 1.5, and the Malahat area, 2.4. For condos, we've seen just less of an increase in values, and it's been more all over the place. So 0.4% up in the Greater Victoria area for condos year over year, 0.9% in the West Shore. It's gone up. It's gone down 1.4% in the peninsula. Sorry, I can't read that. I've got a little in the core. Thanks.
West Shore
on our screens here, there's like an overlay while we're trying to manage the screens here. So I can't actually. It's a really poor placement of that, so I can't read it. So Peninsula is down 1.3 as well. So this is just thought we'd talk about really briefly talk about values over time, because people say, oh, prices are so expensive, and I'm going to wait for prices to come down, or I think I've never seen it this bad, or whatever it is. And I know that back in January 2005, the benchmark price for a single family home was $369,200. And any day of the week, I think if you had a chance to buy that home today for $369,200, you're going to say that's a screaming good deal. Yeah. I also know, I got licensed in 2006, and and prices were, similar. And for almost 20 years now, I've heard people saying this exact same thing. Prices are high. I'm waiting for them to come down. I don't want to pay these prices. I think that housing is too expensive, and it's so far it hasn't been. And,
Mhm.
everybody's got their reasons and their arguments for how this could go. But I think if you look historically, and we talk to people who say, I bought my parents bought their home in the 50s for $27,000. And
Right.
so, the point here is, and so what I'm looking at here is a chart that says in January 2005, benchmark price for a single family home in Greater Victoria, 369,200. 5 years ago, that benchmark price was 815,600. 3 years ago, and 3 years ago was kind of a peak for
Mhm.
us. It was 1.292,200. So almost 1.3 was the benchmark. We've come down off of that. So now, 12 months ago, we're at 1,147,500. 6 months ago, 1,157,600. 3 months ago, 1,147,700. 1 month ago, 1,181,200. And this month, or the month of April, 1,188,200. So we're still off the peak. And, you could say, well, people who bought in that peak have lost around $100,000. They've definitely lost some equity from what they paid, yes. But will they notice that in 10 years' time when
Mhm.
this is a scary thought, but when the average home value is closer to 2 million?
Right.
Probably not. Probably not. So
Yeah.
just things to consider, things to think about. It's good to look at
That's good
history sometimes to
information.
get a sense of where
Yeah.
it's going to go. Yeah. Anyway, that's it for me and for us, I think, Jen, unless you've got anything else burning you're blowing up your phone or you want to talk about. So
No, that's good.
you're good?
Good.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if you guys like what you're hearing, please do give us a thumbs up. If you like what you're hearing also, please just subscribe so you don't miss a future show. Love to hear your comments and your contributions. And by all means, share with anyone who you think might be interested in hearing what we've got to say. I am Andrew Plank. I'm with the Vibe Collective at Royal LePage. We are, you can reach me directly at 250-360-6106. That's my business cell phone and personal cell phone. So phone, text, however you want to reach there. Email info@andrewplank.com and the website andrewplank.com. Jen.
I am at 250-217-4925, and my email is jen@jenlowe.ca, and my website is jenlowe.ca.
Great. Okay. And Jane, if you want to reach out to Jane, her cell is 250-744-0775. She's jane@briarhillgroup.com, and you can check out her website, briarhillgroup.com as well. She's with the Briar Hill Group at Remax Camosun. And again, thanks so much for watching. We really appreciate you guys taking the time to be here with us, and we will see you all again next week.
Bye, everyone.
Bye now.